Hi guys, this week we're going to talk about the difference between property investors and retail buyers. If you haven't followed me on Facebook or Instagram, you can do so now by going to the Facebook, Denny.com, or you go to Instagram, right? So if you seriously want to become an investor, I suggest you guys to download this Becoming an Investor ebook series. Now this is where we're gonna share lots of the topics from how to spot your property, all the way from creating wealth, and also buy and sell. How to buy, when to buy the property, and when to sell the property. Now and then how to make profit from it. And also if you're going for longer term, you should look into having to get the rentals. Now today we're going to talk about the difference between home buyers and so-called we refer to as retail buyer, and also investors, the difference between those two. Now why I create this video? Well, I already mentioned it like last year on this topic, but somehow a lot of people still coming to me and ask the same question: should they buy for own stay and should they buy to invest? Now there are two categories into this kind of we call it segment. It's a different as the developer, or if you're agent, then these are the two type of the prospects, the potential buyer that are going to buy your property. Now the first one is that home buyers. Now home buyers, normally we call it the retail buyer, or maybe they're not they in their whole life they maybe just buy one property. Now this kind of buyer, normally the characteristic of this kind of buyer is that they normally will follow what's happening in the market, where if the market is not going too well, or maybe the sentiment is not really high, and then this kind of segment, the people, they're really the first one to pull off. Now because they're not the type of people that really will look into property investment. They really strictly look into the property. The primary reason is to buy for own stay. Now these are the people that if there's an economic downturn, or is something is not right with the market, then these are the people they won't be buy property. Now because they're not looking into the data, they're only thinking to buy for own stay. And the second reason why they will buy property is that for investment, but that is come on the second purpose. It's like they want to have the two things at the same time. They want to buy the property, and hopefully the property will appreciate in the future. Now these are the segment of people, the retail buyer. Normally they follow news. Now like I said before, news will only as good as the how you read it. But if you drill deep, if you look into the data, if you look all the if you we call it, if you curate all the data and the news, sometimes it's not even true. Yes, it's applicable to certain areas, but not the whole Malaysia, right? So these are the people, they usually will only buy during the high time, because they think that they're easier to get loan. They want everything. They don't want any headache. They don't want to have struggle and hassle to get a loan, and therefore they want to everything so smooth, so easy. And when it's easy, when the time is everybody's buying, it's easy, right? It's easy to get the loan. Now when it comes to property investment, especially on the downtime, like you and me, if you're watching, if you're investors, that you know that it's really hard to get loan these days. However, there's always a way for us to get the loan. Sometimes we have to be a little bit creative to in order to get the loan that we're asking for. However, there are always the upside while we buy during the downturn. and not on the high time, right? So the retail buyer will always they don't trust the market. They always follow when everybody is buying, and therefore they are buying, right? So these are the people, for example, the agents. You is at this time is at this point of time, it's a little bit hard for you to target them because they're not ready. Even though if they're ready, they have those kind of fear that uh, they shouldn't buy the property. However, for people like us, or you and me, those people that are watching, if you are investors, then you know this is a time to buy, because we're not when the property they were doing the boom time. This is where we're going to offload our properties, right? So, and this is when this is a time where we can get a very good bargain in the market, and because there are a lot of supply for us to choose from. Now, not just one property, not just the primary market, we can also get from the secondary market. There's many to choose from, but it's just one of the challenge that we have to face as an investor, is that we have to come up with the thing of way that we can get the property finance. Obviously, if you have cash, some of you, if you have cash, by all means you can buy cash, but some of us, the majority of us, we need to leverage on the banks. So therefore we will try to get financing to finance our property. Now this is the few difference between the retail buyer and also investors. Now the investors, they normally they don't there are a few things they always have the way how to look at. Obviously have a lot of criteria in searching for the good property, but ideally what we're looking for as the first round of when we choose property is like the price has to be below market value due. Not all the properties is actually you can get BMV, because some of the property, for example, like commercial property, it really depends on the rentals, right? So even though the commercial property like the shop lot, even though it's not BMV, or maybe they are slightly below for the market value, is good to go, because commercial property, they always have the more value to it as opposed to the residential. So yeah, so these are the difference during the downtime. Usually the if you're agent and if you're targeting the home buyer, then you will have a little bit of challenge there. However, if you have a pool of investors with you, I think this is your time to make a lot of money, and even for developers as well, because a lot of investors, they really go into the market and try to grab as much as possible, because we're not, as investor, you and me, we're not going to wait until the market is going up and then we buy overpriced property. This is where the property, normally when you buy, then the bank value will be lower than the property price itself, right? In that case, normally that time you have to fork up a lot of money. Not even the bank can actually support that. However, now what's happening is that the loan is either higher than the property value or in par. So it's much easier to match that. Not when the high the market is going up. So for those of you that really ask why should you invest in property now, or should you invest in the future, I always say, if you're not buying, if you're investing, if you're thinking to invest, this is the time to buy a very good deal, because the deals are everywhere, not necessarily from developer but also from the sub-sale itself. Or not to mention, if you some of the good properties that's completed like last year, or maybe going to the auction, this is a time where you can really get into it, because some of the property, I can tell you that the auction property in the market are maybe 10 to 20% below the market value. And then what the good thing about this kind of auction property is that the property never VP. What it means by never VP is that the owner, the first owner, they never claim the key, never take the key from the developer, and therefore the the unit itself is literally untouched. You're basically buying 20% below market value, below current market value, with it's like a bare new unit and unused. You as good as a new owners. So these are something that you as an investors you can consider to get into. I'm sure there's some of the properties that's completed last year or 2 years before 2019, they are floating in the market. So as a tip for you guys, maybe you guys can look into a little bit on the auction and then see those look into the property when they're completed, and then the project, and then see if it's any project that you like completed 1 or 2 years ago, and then look if there's any auction come up. If there is, then most likely it's still empty. But even if it's somebody who lives there before, it's still okay because it's still new and you get a very good bargain for it. Yeah, so I hope you guys learned something for this. A very quick video after Hari Raya, and then I think last 2 weeks ago I didn't share any video, and I think it's good for us to spend time with family on the this festive season, and very meaningful to be appreciate and grateful for family members, friends, and all your relatives. All right, so until again, we start to invest from now onwards. All right, see you guys next week.